Hi there, it's Stephanie. This screener is going to talk about paper tole and PowerPoint. And the two you think probably don't go together, and I guess they really don't. But paper tole is a good example in the real world of how you can create three-dimensional or a kind of a deep-looking picture or object just by stacking things on top of each other. So paper tole stacks a bunch of materials on top of each other, and it creates this three-dimensional look, as you can see in this greeting card. And we can create the same thing in PowerPoint using some very basic commands. First off, just like in the real world, you need a bunch of separated shapes. So the background pink box, the ribbon, the stitching, the white box, those are all separate shapes. And in the digital world in PowerPoint, they also must be separate shapes. So to create this effect, all you need to do is work with layers in PowerPoint. So you create your shapes, and then you turn your selection pane on, which shows you all the objects on your slide and the order of those objects. So the pink box is sitting at the bottom, and the ribbon is sitting just above it. So when I put the ribbon on top of the pink box, it does go on top, not underneath. This triangle stitching piece is also above the pink box, but it's below the ribbon. You see it's nestled in between the two, which means it's going to sit below that ribbon. And then finally, the white box sits on top of it all. So if I want the white box to be below the ribbon, I would just press the down arrow at the bottom of the selection pane, and I can put it behind that layer, or I can go up and put it back to the top. Either way, using your selection and visibility pane is useful if you have a lot of objects on your slide and you're working with the layers. Now we've got it all together here, except there's no three-dimensional look yet, and the reason why is because we don't have a lighting source. We have to simulate a lighting source in the digital world to create that stacked feel. So to do that, all you have to do is add shadows. So the lighting source is coming from here, and the shadows are being cast downward in this direction. So for each of the four objects, you want to use the exact same shadow effect, and it's under Format, Shape, Shadow. And I just used the preset here of this one, the diagonal bottom left, and I didn't change any of the settings, though you could. And just by that simple adjustment, you've gone from something that's kind of ho-hum, boring, to something that's a bit more punchy and has a bit of depth to it. Now you can do the same thing with a photograph. Photograph starts out flat, but with a little bit of slicing and dicing, you can punch it up and create a depth of focus. Now, how this was done was by looking at the photograph and determining what's far away and what's close up. The far away stuff has to blur a little bit, and the close-up stuff has to be brighter. So to do that, you have to slice your photograph into several pieces, not just two here, not just for the background and the very, very foreground, but the stuff in between too, to create this type of illusion, or this type of depth of focus it's called. So what I did here, let me just show you. I used the remove background command. I basically made 4 copies of that of this photograph, and I worked with the faraway objects first. I removed everything that was before the faraway objects, and then I blurred that last bit of the photograph. With a second copy, I got rid of the faraway objects and then focused on what was then next to the people, or the next closest thing, which was the marina and the lake. And then I worked with what was even closer, which are the people directly behind them. And then finally, they're at the foreground, and I just used the brightness controls in PowerPoint to brighten up this picture a little bit. And then I copied each of these pieces and put them on a slide. So you can see there's the blurred background, the marina, the people, and then the people in the foreground. And then I just used, in this case, just Control A. And up in the menu, I can say Arrange, Align Center, and then Align Middle. And once I did that, it put all those pieces together and created that depth of focus. And again, it's the selection pane here that's going to be important. I didn't name these, but normally you would. So picture 12 is the blurred background, and then picture 14 is in the marina. Picture 7 are the people walking around, and picture 8 are the people on the foreground. So if I don't have it in that order, it wouldn't work very well at all. So it has to be in that order, and that's how I sliced up this particular photograph. But each photograph would have its own number of layers that you might need. Anyway, give you some ideas of what you can do. So from photographs to simple objects to punch up the graphics in your e-learning. Have fun!